Carl, of course, a quick turnaround for you off the back of Saturday's game, heading into Tuesday night with Sutton, making the journey north tomorrow. I mean, first things first, obviously looking at the back of Saturday, you mentioned it at the time in terms of the contrast and halves you felt, but how have things digested since that point?
Yeah, looking at the game back, I think I just want more urgency about our play, particularly in the first half. Also, I want us to control our emotional state better. We were a little bit naive at times in terms of our out of possession, trying to go and nick the ball back high up the pitch where, we have to make better decisions in terms of when to jump and press, or maybe allow the opposition into certain areas and create traps. Because Altrincham, as well, they're a good side. You've got to respect that they're a good side and they will have spells in the game. In those moments, then you've got to be mature and accept that these are also a good team. Give them that respect to a certain degree, but don't, go off chasing the ball in ones and twos. We need to be a solid unit and protect the middle of the pitch better, and that's something that we didn't do. So there was, like I said, there was a lot of learning came off the back of it, especially towards the second half as well, because positionally, a couple of players showed some really good bits, so we may change things, we may not, but there was certainly a lot of things that we can think about post the game.
Yeah, and touching on Sutton, obviously being the opposition tomorrow, again another side who you faced quite early in your managerial career here, ended up being quite a resolute defensive display from what I remember, which pleased you at the time. But how are you looking ahead to that test tomorrow? Yeah,
I think they'll be slightly different, to be honest. I remember at their place, they sort of conceded a lot of ground and let us have a lot of the ball, particularly in the first half, and then they put us under pressure in the second as we held on to the lead. But as the season's gone on, they've grown and evolved their style, and I think they'll come here and they'll try and play, very similar to Altrincham, although different formation, and it'll be a real tactical battle, one where all the things I've just mentioned that we weren't great at the weekend, we have to then put in place, and I'm looking forward to seeing a reaction and a response that is obviously badly needed.
You mentioned it being a tactical battle that you're expecting, and not too dissimilar to the Altrincham game you touch on there as well. Is that then perhaps an ideal scenario for you to put yourselves in when you're looking at what you need to improve on from Saturday?
Yeah, 100%. It'll test the areas that we weren't great at, particularly in the first half on Saturday. So it'll be an indication of how they take on board information, how they go and action that on the pitch, because they'll be, like I say, they'll be tested in ways that we didn't stand up to that test at the weekend, and now it's an opportunity, having addressed that and spoke to the players, and give them the problems that we think Sutton will present. How do you go and combat that?
And in terms of how everyone is looking really ahead of tomorrow, obviously Tinks went off towards the end of the game. I'm not sure whether that was any kind of injury problem or not. And I mean, I think you mentioned towards the back end of last week about Sean and Max kind of slowly integrating themselves back into training as well, which obviously has continued today. So good on that front.
Yeah, Tinks, I think he'll be okay. It was just a superficial one. I don't think there's anything twisted or torn or anything like that. He's just took a bang on the knee. So I expect him to be fine. And then Max or John, yes, one, maybe both of them will be involved in the squad. If not, then certainly for the weekend they'll be in contention, and they'll join in full training on Wednesday. So yeah, positive that we're getting players back.